And I remember very specifically somebody like passed out. Like to get into the photography darkroom, you actually had to like walk into this space, turn a door, like a rotating door, and then it would kind of close off. And then on the other side, it would open up to the darkroom. And these kids were freaking doing whippets or some shit with the, I don't know, the dust off shit that you use to clean off your keyboard. There was kids in my photography class that were literally huffing this shit, and they like passed out in this door that you use to get to the dark room. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fstopandchill with me, Heather Mullinix of Mullinix Photography, where I have weekly, candid, and open chats with other photographers in the industry, shooting the shit, talking shop, and learning about who they are as photographers. So grab a drink, come as you are, and today we're actually just hanging out with me. This first episode here on Fstopandchill is going to be a really fun get to know me type of episode where I actually am going to be answering your questions. So I'm really stoked that you're here, and let's dive right in. Hello. I am actually extremely nervous for this. This is my first time recording on video also. So this should be really interesting as far as editing and things like that go. So I actually put a question box out on my Instagram recently, and I thought it would be really fun to do my first episode as a get to know me kind of session, since most of my other episodes will be with other photographers in the industry. They will be interview style, and I will have somebody right here with me, not at my house, but we'll be recording together and things like that. So before we, dive into all of that, it would be probably nice for you guys to kind of know who I am as a person. These questions are really fun. I'm really glad that people submitted them because I really suck at talking about myself. So these are great questions to get me going, get me started. First question, where did you grow up / currently reside? So I actually grew up in Southeast Boise. We moved to Boise when I was 5 years old. So we've lived here for about 30 years. So if that doesn't tell you how old I am. We actually did move here from California. So I consider myself a native Idahoan just because this is where I grew up. This is where I was raised. So it was just me, my mom, and my dad actually moved here from the Bay Area of California 30 years ago. So we moved into this really cute little house in the north end of Boise. And then we moved to Southeast Boise when, oh gosh, I don't even remember how old I was. I was young. But yeah, that's where I grew up, and my husband and I actually currently live out in Mountain Home, Idaho, which is a really small military town. We bought out here in November of 2020. The interest rates were amazing, and this was kind of the only place that we could afford. And for those of you that aren't from Idaho, Mountain Home is about 40 miles outside of Boise. So, and most of our friends and stuff all live on that end of town. So being really far away from them has kind of sucked. But we are currently actually working on getting things in order so that we can be closer to friends over there. But my dad actually passed away in a motorcycle accident, not to make this episode like super heavy or anything like that, but my mom is the only family that I have here in Idaho. The rest of our family lives in California still, and we do go back time to time. We go back from time to time to visit, but not often. So, I mean, another one of the questions that I got was what's the comparison of being raised in California versus Idaho, which I wasn't. I kind of covered that already, but I actually was not raised in California. I was raised in Idaho. So there's kind of this stigma around, Californians in Idaho. We had a huge influx of people from California moved to Idaho. So I just want it to be known that we moved here when I was 5. I am almost 35 years old. So I consider myself a native at this point. All right, next question. Favorite things to do in your spare time? Honestly, if we're not at home, we are pretty busy people. I feel like in the when the weather's nice in the spring, summer, fall, there are times where I literally will not even unpack our bags because we'll be gone camping or at the dirt bike track, or we're just kind of always on the go. We're visiting, my husband's family in Burley or Rexburg, or we're somewhere, we're doing something. So when we do actually have time to stop, we're usually just on the couch, literally. But my favorite thing to do now is just going and riding my dirt bike, since it is something that I've recently found a passion for. Or in the summertime when it's just way too hot to be riding my dirt bike, I love wake surfing. So I just love being on the water. I'm a Pisces, and I don't know if that has anything to do with my love for water, but I would much rather be paddleboarding or at the lake, camping, things like that. How many pets and their stories? Y'all, we have a freaking small petting zoo at this house. I literally should probably be charging people to come to our house if they're going to touch our animals. It's a great business idea. Let me write that down. Just kidding. So we actually have 3 dogs and 3 cats. We are not cat people. I want to put that on the record that we are just not cat people. We're accidental cat people. So the story behind the cats is that my husband's sister, so my sister-in-law, had this cat that she found when this cat was just a teeny tiny baby kitten, and she brought it home and like nurtured it, and it was like away from its mommy and all these things. And she had this cat, and she ended up having to move and couldn't take the cat with her. So she asked Talon, my husband, if we would want the cat. And he said, hell no, absolutely not. I don't want a cat. Well, without telling me that she had already asked him and he said no, she asked me. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, oh, Michaela loves this cat. We can keep her in the family and Michaela can come see her. Sure, we'll take the cat. This was in 2014. Funny, actually, that it was right before Valentine's Day in 2014. So about this time of year, we're moving to Wyoming. My husband was working in the oil fields at that time. We're moving to Wyoming. We have a dog and a cat that I've never met before. We get snowed in Alpine, Wyoming. My husband and I spent our very first Valentine's Day actually at this lodge in Alpine, Wyoming. They had the shittiest meat that I don't even remember what it was, but it was terrible. The meat was terrible. The band was pretty cool, but we're stuck in Alpine, Wyoming with this dog and a cat that I've never met. Thankfully, they did really good. Anyways, long story short, we get to Wyoming and I start noticing that this cat is getting fat. I'm like, man, she's eating a lot. This doesn't feel normal, and her belly is getting really big. So we take her to the vet, and the vet says, oh, well, either she's got a belly full of worms or she's pregnant. Here I am hoping that neither one of those is the case, because I'm like, we don't need kittens. We just moved here. What the heck are we going to do with kittens? Turns out she was pregnant with 6 kittens, and I love animals. And if you've ever seen kittens, they're really fucking cute. Okay. We ended up keeping 2 of them. So now we have the mommy cat and her 2 babies. The dogs, Murphy, he's our little dog. We got him a few years back after our pit bull passed away. Makita we acquired from a friend who lived in Burley, and his dog had accidental puppies. And then our newest addition, his name is Hubert, and my grandpa actually passed away, and we acquired his dog. So that's the story of our pets. I also have a fish named Chloe. I don't know if that matters to anybody, but got a fish and her name is Chloe. She's a betta fish. Will you stay in Idaho forever? Do you want to move? So we actually considered moving to Michigan at one point. It's beautiful in Michigan. I am a sucker for trees, and they have so many trees there, so pretty. But Talon loves to snowboard, and the fact that there are not mountains there are hills. And living in Idaho, both of us, basically my whole life, and my husband, definitely his whole life, he was born and raised in Idaho. I think that going somewhere that doesn't have mountains really just would not be suitable for him at all. He has to have his mountains in the wintertime. He loves snowboarding. I think that we'll be in Idaho forever. Truly, I think we're lifers here. It's just beautiful. And yeah, we love it here. We have access to the mountains and the lakes. We have everything that we need here. So I don't foresee us moving ever. What is your favorite dinner to make with Talon? You guys, I hate cooking. Truly. So this question is so hard for me because no dinner is my favorite dinner to make with Talon. Honestly, like if we could just order in and just eat together, I'm happy with that. But I hate cooking, and he actually does enjoy cooking, but he's just so tired after work that he doesn't want to cook. So 9 times out of 10, we're making something super simple like soup and sandwiches. Why is yoga important to you? So, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have been starting back up on my yoga journey. And truly, yoga, I feel like my brain just goes so quickly all the time that I will find any excuse to not take time to move my body, work out, meditate, all the things that I probably should be doing because I do have chronic anxiety. So I need to be taking the time to do this. And I actually was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis in my lower extremities when I was a baby. I think I was like 18 months old or something. So going hard at the gym or doing these crazy extreme workouts just isn't up my alley. I can't do that just for the sake of my joints. And a few years back, I actually got in a pretty gnarly wake surfing accident, and it messed up my lower back. And I remember the physical therapist was like, "Oh, if you do yoga, you have to do it very lightly." And I was crying because at that time, a few years ago, I was doing yoga every single day for several months. So to not be able to do that at that moment, to hear that, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how big of an impact yoga had on me. And then over the years, I kind of just let it go. And I, like I said, we're constantly on the go, and my brain is constantly on the go. And so I think that incorporating yoga back into my life is really important for me to just keep my body moving and keep me grounded and, get that all the yoga good feels in. How's your journey to quit smoking / drinking going? Okay, drinking is pretty easy. Honestly, I've gone pretty hard with drinking my whole life. I just like to party. And my husband actually quit drinking last June, I want to say. So ever since then, I actually just haven't been drinking a lot to begin with. And so not drinking anymore really isn't that hard. There's been a couple of times where I'm in these situations where I'm like, oh man, I would love to crack open a beer right now. But I usually just crack open a Red Bull instead. I don't know if that's any better. As far as quitting smoking, quitting vaping is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It's going to be more or less, I think, getting off of nicotine for me. I've actually switched over to the Zyn pouches. I don't know if you guys know what those are, but just to kind of get the nicotine. The way I see it, they're kind of like a nicotine gum or a lozenge or something like that. But yeah, quitting vaping is gnarly. If you don't vape, don't start. If you don't smoke, don't start. I swear that quitting vaping is harder than quitting smoking ever was, because you can smoke these things anywhere. You can smoke them inside. They don't stink. They smell great. They taste great. Just don't do it. Just don't start smoking, okay? Coffee or tea? Ooh. So I have iced coffee every morning. I do half calf, again, because I have chronic anxiety and I have to be careful with my caffeine intake. Says the person that just said that they drink a Red Bull instead of a beer. I recently actually just bought some matcha, like green tea matcha. And I've been drinking one of those in the afternoon instead of a Red Bull. So I'd have my iced coffee in the morning, and then I've been doing a green tea matcha in the afternoon. And I really like that. So that's honestly, probably coffee for right now. And then I'm just not very good at drinking tea plain. I make it very unhealthy and sugary. And yes, I know you can add, honey and whatever else to keep it healthy, but still keep it sweeter. But I just don't prefer the flavor. My husband, on the other hand, he'll drink tea unsweetened, just straight. I mean, if he could suck on the tea sack, whatever that thing is, the tea bag, if he could suck on the tea bag, I think he would. But I like to have my tea very sweet and unhealthy, so probably coffee. Where's your favorite place to vacation? My heart will always be at the beach, at the ocean. Santa Cruz, California is hands down one of my all-time favorite places ever. My cousins, even to this day, will say, you light up when you get to the ocean, just like you did when you were a kid. I feel at home. Like I feel like a piece of my heart will always be at the beach somewhere where it's like not like the coast, not like the Oregon coast beach. I mean, I'm sure I would still be happy there. I've only ever been to the coast once, and I was a kid, so I don't really remember it. But I think Santa Cruz, California probably is my favorite place to vacation. I just love it there. When I was younger, I remember saying that one day I'd have a house in Santa Cruz. Now that I'm older and I see the cost of housing there, I'm like, never mind. Probably not going to happen. It's fine. So we'll just go back and vacation there. But I would say Santa Cruz, and locally Stanley for sure. We were actually supposed to get married in Stanley, and we ended up having to cancel all of the reservations that we'd made at the cabins up there like 2 days before our wedding because it snowed, like a lot of snow. And I'm kind of bummed about it, truly, because I love Stanley and we used to go camping there a lot when I was a kid. So we actually need to make another trip there soon. I have not been there for many years, and it's one of my favorite places in Idaho. So somebody asked which vehicle that you found is your favorite. I didn't really understand this question, but I guess, I love Jeep Wranglers, and I would love to have a Toyota Tacoma one day. My husband will forever make fun of me for that. He's like, well, I don't understand why you just don't buy a full pickup or whatever. It's pointless, blah, 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 blah. But I love the way they look. And then one day I do have a goal to restore a VW Beetle or a Bug. I can't remember which one they call the old one. Is it a Bug or a Beetle? The new ones are called a Bug, I think, and then the old ones are called Beetles. I don't remember. I have a Pinterest board full of inspiration pictures. I just want to buy one that's just like rusty and gross and just totally restore it. I would love to do that with a VW Bug or a Beetle, and also a VW Bus. And they would be like all blacked out, slammed to the ground. That would be my favorite vehicle, I think. How did you get started in motocross? So I'm not really a motocross. I guess I can't. I ride the moto track. So I grew up riding quads and four-wheelers, and my husband actually grew up racing dirt bikes. And I've always known that I wanted to try it, but being an adult, you think of the risk factor. I mean, you're not on your parents' insurance anymore. You actually have to pay for these things. You get hurt, and there's things that you can't do. Like if you fuck yourself up really bad, you're down for the count for a while. And healing as an adult, you don't bounce back like you did when you were a kid. So, but I did it anyways. I mean, YOLO, no regrets type of thing. We got me a dirt bike. So we bought a KX100 from a friend. It was a 2-stroke. For those of you listening that know dirt bikes, or you don't, I don't know. I'm going to try to kind of explain this in layman's terms a bit, but the KX100 was too small for me, and it was a 2-stroke. So on 2-stroke bikes, you really have to stay on the gas, so otherwise it'll blow up the engine. And so it was just way too zippy for me. So we sold that, and then we got me a 250F, and that was way too big and scary. It was a Suzuki, so it was kickstart. I wish Suzuki would just get their shit together and make an electric start, but they don't. So it was really big and scary and heavy. And as a beginner, I really just needed something that was my size, that didn't have too much power for me to learn on. And so we actually just last year got me a KLX 140 big wheel, and it's the perfect bike for me. It's like a Prius or a tractor, however you want to describe it, but it is just really slow and it's easy for me to learn on. I can touch the ground, and I'm hoping that once I get comfortable and gain my confidence on that, then I can upgrade to something better. And I'm really enjoying it. I really am. I'm progressing. We just went out this last weekend and I actually rode things that I didn't think that I would ever be able to ride because of my anxiety with going down hills. Terrifying. So I actually conquered some of my fears this last weekend, and I'm really excited to keep progressing in that because I do enjoy it and I love being out at the moto track. There's been times where I've literally like had a cold and Talon's not sick and he wants to go ride, and we'll still go out to the moto track because I'd rather be there than home. I always say I'd rather be miserable at the moto track than being miserable at home. So I don't know. Dirt bikes are just there's something that I can't explain about them that just makes me really happy. So, do you prefer books or movies? Okay, you guys, I have a lot of books. So, if you come to my house and you see the shelves that we have that have books on them, it would really make you believe that I'm a reader. I am not a reader. I am the reader that likes the idea of reading. But again, my brain is just so busy. It never stops. It never slows down. It never turns off. So I'm the person that will read a paragraph 10 times and it probably still will not register in my brain what I just read. Truly. So I have a lot of really great books that seem like they'd be awesome, but I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you because I think that the last book that I actually finished front to back was in junior high, and it was a requirement that I finish that book. Actually, all the other books that I was required to finish in junior high and high school, I don't think I ever even finished those either. I think this one I actually really, really, really liked. It was called They Cage the Animals at Night, and it was the only book that I finished from front to back. The others, I think I just like, sorry to my high school teachers, but I'm pretty sure I just like looked it up online what it was about and did the assignments from there. So definitely movies, if that didn't answer the question right off the bat. Movies for sure. What is the greatest challenge you've overcome so far? Oof, this is a good one. It's kind of a broad question. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've overcome in my life, a lot of challenges, a lot of things. I mean, I'm really trying not to go like dark with this or like too heavy with this episode, but I've had a lot of loss in my life. I've had a lot of people that I love pass away. You know, I lost my dad, I lost my dog, I've lost my grandma, I've lost my aunt, I've lost my grandpa, I've lost several friends. I mean, overcoming those challenges as far as losing somebody and losing multiple people and still being able to pick myself up and move forward. I've seen some really dark days. I struggle mental health wise just with anxiety and depression, and mentally I have had to overcome so many challenges as far as picking myself up and continuing forward. I would say that is my biggest challenge that I've overcome. All right, so let's get into things that are photography related questions. There's some really, really good ones in here. The first question, how did your journey start? So I actually started shooting. I think this is actually one of the questions that's in here is what was my first camera? So this kind of goes with that question. I don't remember the exact model of the camera, but it's a Pentax. My mom still has this camera that I really want to bust back out again, but it was a Pentax film camera, and this is my dad's camera that he had. And junior high, I got into a photography class and I was shooting on film and editing in a dark room. And I'm really thankful that I learned how to shoot on a film camera. I think that just developed a whole other love and appreciation for photography that I wouldn't have known if I had just started shooting on a digital camera right out the gate. So all 6 years, so junior high and high school, I was shooting on a film camera, Pentax, and developing in this dark room. And I remember very specifically somebody like passed out. Like, to get into the photography dark room, you actually had to like walk into this space, turn a door, like a rotating door, and then it would kind of close off, and then on the other side it would open up to the dark room. And these kids were freaking doing whippets or some shit with the, I don't know, the dust off shit that you use to clean off your keyboard. There was kids in my photography classes that were literally huffing this shit, and they like passed out in this door that you use to get to the dark room. And I don't know. It's just so many memories in high school, but I think it was the only class that I actually enjoyed. I really just was not a good kid when I was younger. I'll admit that. I mean, I did barely graduate high school. I truly, like, I scraped by the skin of my teeth, and, smoking weed, drinking at a very young age. I did cheerleading for a while, and my mom actually pulled me from that because she found out that I was partying, and she's like, listen, I'm taking your car and cheerleading. And I don't know, it probably made things worse for me, but because I just continued to party. And I don't know. I was a hellion of a kid. I still am just, I don't know. I don't know, man. High school was wild. High school was a wild time. What inspired you to start photography? Honestly, this one's hard. This one's hard to answer just because I really have a terrible memory, and I don't even remember if it was my parents that suggested it or if I was like, I want to do photography, and my dad happened to have this film camera and I just did it. And then I've just always kind of had a passion for it since then. And I got my first digital, like, DSLR camera, professional camera, in 2016. And I've just been kind of shooting off and on since then. This is the first time that I've actually taken it really seriously and focused on it as like a full-time thing. So, what was the hardest part of starting? God, so many things. So many things. I mean, I have a lot of self-doubt. I do a lot of comparing. I mean, I follow so many photographers on Instagram and social media, and I love their work. And I'm constantly comparing my now to their, like, they've been shooting for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. And I'm over here like, well, why doesn't my stuff look that good? And, that is my biggest stickler. I think it always will be. I don't know. I think I need to get like hypnotized or something to get these thoughts out of my head, because I'm constantly comparing myself. So starting when you just don't feel like you're good enough, or not thinking that you're worth it, not worth what you're charging. There's so many different things, the comparison syndrome and the imposter syndrome, and there's just so many things that have held me back that I've just really had to push aside, where I'm like, okay, you got to stop doing this shit, because you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be stuck in the same place that you've always been if you don't just take the leap and do it. What did you want to be when you grew up? This one was interesting to me, and I actually thought about this a lot since it was submitted, and I'm going to have to ask my mom, because I'm curious if there was ever a time when I was a kid where I'm like, this is what I want to be when I grow up, because I don't remember being the child that had, this dream of being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever kids dream of. I don't know. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, truly. I mean, I know that I've never been the type of person that is into the 9 to 5. It's been pounded into my head since I was a child that, 401k and the retirement and the insurance and things like that, it's never sat right with me. Never has that felt right in my soul. I'm just very much so a creative person. I've dabbled in a lot of different things, and I've had to go through the emotions of, feeling like I'm a failure because I don't have the 9 to 5 and I don't have the 401k. I haven't had a regular job since 2016, I want to say. Thankfully, I have a husband who is amazing and fully supports all of these crazy things that I've tried to do to try and find what I'm passionate about. And that kind of leads me into another question that was submitted, is what is your support system like? And I don't think that my mom's going to listen to it, but she does. I'm sorry to say, but my my mom growing up, she's very much so work a 9 to 5, get a career, get the money in the 401k. And I think that it's great that we now live in a world where we're kind of phasing out of that, and people are allowed to follow their dreams and passions and do the things that they're allowed to try and fail, so that they're finding out what they're passionate about, what they do want to do, because we do not have to live the rest of our lives miserable, stuck behind a desk, doing something that we hate if we don't have to. And I get it. There are a lot of people out there who don't have a choice, right? And I'm not trying to attack anybody on this, but I truly just feel like a lot of people make excuses on, not necessarily excuses, but there's just these limiting beliefs, right? That we all have. It's the way that we were raised, and what our parents taught us is right and wrong, and what's good and bad, and all of these things, that they never actually try to do things to try and find something that they're passionate about. Or, there's a lot of people that just they can't afford it, right? I mean, you got to spend money to make money. And unfortunately, some of this stuff is very expensive. And it's sad that a lot of people will never be able to spend their life doing something that they love just for the sake of money. I'm kind of in that spot sometimes too, where it's like photography equipment is fucking expensive. Like, holy shit, this is the same price as a new vehicle for me if I want to get all of the stuff that I would need to be really successful in this business. So it's kind of a one step at a time thing. But anyways, going back to the support system, I'm very, very happy that I am lucky and fortunate that I do have a husband that sees that I have a passion for photography, that I am good at photography, and he sees the end goal and is working his ass off now so that I can build up this career, and eventually he'll be able to be working from home with me too. He sees the end game, and I appreciate that. What sparks my passion? Ooh, good one. As far as what sparked, I mean, so many things. I do love. I hate that term, just feels like so overused. I love, and I love capturing people in their most authentic form. Somebody else asked, do you like posing people, or do you like more candid shots? This goes with kind of hand in hand with this question, in that I am very much so a lifestyle photographer. I have a very hard time posing. I'm good at giving prompts of what to do, right? Do this, and capturing that moment as it unfolds. I'm not good at saying, okay, stand from shortest to tallest and everybody look at me and smile. I try to get those at the very beginning of a photo shoot, just because I know that people do Christmas cards and they do, family photos, and that they send out to family and whatnot. However, the rest of my shoots are very lifestyle, very candid. I will give somebody a silly prompt to do, and they look at me like I'm fucking crazy. And then, they see their pictures and they're like, oh, okay, that made sense. There's just something about capturing people in their most authentic form. And I know how I look back on pictures, right? When we're having a good time and we're being silly and fun and doing weird things, and I see those pop up in my memories on Facebook or whatever, I want that for other people. I want people to be able to relive that moment that they had with me at that photo shoot forever and ever and ever, right? I picture people kind of like seniors or whatever in the old folks home, like showing people their pictures of this time that they did a photo shoot at this parking garage at downtown Boise or whatever, and just laughing about it, or reliving those memories. Just like, there's something that just fuels that inside of me that I just absolutely love. So that's what sparks my passion. What do you love to shoot the most? So right now I am really trying to hone in on what I want to shoot for forever. Right now, I'm truly enjoying shooting maternity couples. So even if it's not engagements, just couples in general. Obviously, engagements. Seniors are pretty fun. I don't know if I really want to go the direction of seniors fully. I really like shooting two people. I shooting couples is where my heart is really being pulled to right now. And I'm also really enjoying doing portrait sessions, like in-home portrait sessions, or something just really cozy about in-home sessions at somebody's house, where it's like their own little element of cozy. So right now, I think I'm really just shooting to try and find what my heart is pulled towards the most. I don't really have an exact direction of where I want to go yet, but I have an idea of where I want to go, which I'll get to in a second. Do you have another career, or are you a full-time photographer? And how has going, oh, I'll skip that one. The next one, it'll make more sense after I answer this first one. So I don't have a career. I actually recently, in November of 2022, quit my full-time job that I had for not very long. I tried to do the desk thing, the 9 to 5, and I was so miserable. I was in such a bad place mentally, and my heart just kept getting pulled and pulled and pulled to go back to photography. So my husband said, look, you need to do this. Like, if you're going to do it, you need to go all in. You can't do anything else, because I am very much so the person that panics if I don't see, money being made right away from something. I panic and I start something else, like a clothing company, or, something else that could bring in money immediately. And then I'm putting my energy into too many different things, and then I get burnt out and none of it ends up succeeding. So this time around, when I quit that job and I fully 100% put my focus and energy into photography, I'm seeing so many benefits of it. And so I'm glad that I'm finally locking down and just putting all of my focus and energy into photography and have the backing of my husband. So photography is my full-time job currently. How has going full-time affected your household and mental health? So going full-time has been stressful, but I want to say that the benefits outweigh the stressful moments that we've had. Of course, financially, right? We lost my income when I quit that job. So my husband, thankfully, he's been working a ton of overtime to make up this, loss of income from me quitting last November. And I'm so thankful for that. And again, he sees the end game. So he has joked and said, "You're my retirement plan. So keep going." Because I would love for him to be able to be working from home with me, doing something that he's passionate about, right? So that he can have his turn next. All these years, I have fucked around with different things, and it's his turn to find something that he's passionate about too, so that he's able to be here with me and not spending his life doing something that he's miserable doing. Mental health wise, so much better for me. Doing this full time has been so much better. Like I said, when I was working that other job, I hit a really bad place mentally. Bad place. I was not happy. I was not enjoying myself. It was accounting. I was in accounts payable, and then I switched over to accounts receivable, and I was miserable. Like, never again will I ever be in accounting. When I start, needing somebody to do books and paperwork and stuff, I fully plan on hiring our friend Stephanie, because it's just not for me. Like, accounting is not my thing. I was born to be creative. I was not born to be stuck in a 9 to 5. And that's the end of that. That's all I gotta say. Favorite time to shoot is definitely golden hour. So an hour-ish, hour and a half before the sun sets is premium. Dream locations to shoot. On the very tip top of my list is Big Sur, California. I have seen so many beautiful pictures of there. It's on the beach, and I still, to this day, have not been to Big Sur, California. And I would love to shoot there. Truthfully, though, my husband wants to start racing dirt bikes again. And I just have this dream of him traveling to different places to race, and me being able to put it out there on social media, like, this is where we're going to be, and then to be able to shoot at those locations while we're there for a race, and having it, work kind of hand in hand together. And then I can just start exploring all these really cool places. I would love to shoot in Arizona. And as far as like an overseas location, I would love to shoot in Ireland. Ireland's definitely on the top of my list. What are your travel plans? We don't have any. Currently, we are trying to pay off debt so that we can get the hell out of Mountain Home. The next travel plans we have is traveling from this house in Mountain Home to a new house not here. No, but in all reality, we have been talking about going to Fiesta again in San Antonio, Texas. And, we would obviously love to go to as many Supercrosses as we can, but budget wise right now, it's just traveling isn't really in our line of sight at this moment. How are you finding your style and niche? Shooting, a lot of shooting. I went back and edited so many pictures from years ago, from 2016, when I just didn't know my settings well or anything like that. I'm very much so learning that I need to find my shooting style before I can find my editing style. They work hand in hand together, right? And I honestly, the only way that I'm finding that is by shooting more. So that's another reason why we really want to move out of Mountain Home and get closer to Boise, because then I can shoot, and I can practice more. And literally, if word to anybody who's just getting started in photography, just shoot and edit, shoot and edit, shoot everything, shoot anything and everything. Go shoot some landscape, stop shooting people if that's your thing, just for a few times, just so that you can see the difference of everything. I think that shooting is your best friend when you're just starting out. How would you classify your personal style and your photography style? So I got this question a couple of times as far as like my photography style and things like that. Like I said, I suck at talking about myself, but I did have a friend recently tell me that he is able to see a little bit of me in my photos, which I thought was really interesting. Not my photography style, I would say like my personal style is very comfy, grungy. I don't know. I literally just kind of wear what is comfortable for me. So I wear a lot of flannels and beanies and sweatpants and leggings. And like right now I'm wearing one of my husband's t-shirts over a hoodie. So I don't know. I just feel like my editing style does maybe come a lot from my personal style, which is that grungy kind of like filmy, earthy at the same time. I don't know. I'm kind of a mix of different things. I'm like a mutt, man. When it comes to my photography style and my personal style, I really just do what feels good to me. I'm trying not to follow the trends too much. There are certain things that I'm like, oh, I really want to try that out. That looks really cool. And I'll try it. And if I hate it, then I won't do it. That's just kind of how I live my life. It's like, try it. If you hate it, then don't do it again. Like, follow what your heart kind of wants, I guess. I don't know. That's a hard one. How did you find your photography style and editing style? How would you classify your personal style and your photography style? That's it. Grungy, comfy, and something that just feels natural to me. And I want that to come across in my photos too, in that people are comfy and having a good time. Do you have a preference for shoot size, families, individuals, couples? So I really, truly do not prefer to shoot families. It's not on my top of my list of things that I love to shoot. I'll do them because I do really like capturing people in their authentic moments, even if it is a family. However, I know that a lot of people for family photos actually prefer to have the posed and standing, and that's very much so not my style. I love the lifestyle aspect of it. So I'm finding that shooting families feels more forced for me, and I'm really am trying just not to shoot for the money. I'm shooting because I love to do what I do, and I love to create these moments and memories for people. And I've had a lot of people that message me and they're like, hey, how much do you charge to sports photography and this, that, and the other? And I'm like, I don't do sports photography. I'm not doing this for the money, but I'm doing it for the money, if that makes any sense. It sounds really yucky and weird and cliche, but I want to be making money with photography, shooting the things that I enjoy shooting, because that is going to really show through my work if I'm shooting things that I don't enjoy shooting. And I want people to love their pictures. I want to love my work. I want to put out my best work to people. And I'm not just going to shoot just because I need the money or for the sake of that, if that makes any sense. Would you ever consider small weddings? I think somebody else actually asked a question about weddings, and I have thought about weddings. I'm absolutely terrified of big weddings. I would absolutely have a second shooter if I did a big wedding. However, because I do love shooting couples and I do love the intimacy of in-home sessions, I feel like I'm really being pulled to do micro weddings and elopements. So I actually didn't know what the hell a micro wedding was until this year, when I had to literally Google them, because people are like, I specialize in micro weddings. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Apparently a micro wedding is, I believe it's 30 or under people at your wedding. So an elopement is obviously you run off you get married, you don't really invite anybody except for the witness type of thing. Whereas a micro wedding, which is something we had and I didn't even know, was we got married in our backyard because our location at Stanley got snowed out and we ended up having to move it to our backyard. And we literally only had like 25 people there, maybe, if that. I just love the intimacy of that. I've been to a couple micro weddings, but never as a photographer. So anyways, I think that micro weddings and elopements is really where my heart is being pulled to do. I don't really have a huge desire to do big weddings. I want to do weddings. I know that I want to do weddings. I just don't know if I want to do big weddings. Like I said, I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. I'm hoping to get a couple micro weddings booked this year to test the waters and see. And I actually have it in the works to go second shoot for a photographer here at a couple bigger weddings. That way I can see what that's like, right? Maybe I'll end up loving it. Maybe I'll have a panic attack and end up hyperventilating at this wedding. Who knows? We'll see. Will you still be doing photography for motocross? Very good question. I do have a separate page for my motocross photography. I kept it separate because my editing style is very different for motocross than it is for my people shots, my portraits and my couples and things like that. And I just like to I'm very OCD as far as keeping my feed cohesive and aesthetic and things like that. So I didn't want to mix in dirt bikes with my other photography. So my other one is Mullinix MX. M as in Mary, X as in X-ray photography. So it's the same name as my regular Instagram. It just has MX in the middle. And I definitely will continue to shoot motocross. I will always have a love for shooting motocross. I really at one point tried to get into making a career out of that. And it wasn't my time. The time that I put into culling and editing and getting these pictures out was not worth the money that at some point, if you're going to make this a career, it has to make sense that you are making the same amount of money or enough money to cover the work that you're putting into it. And it wasn't. But I will continue definitely to do motocross photography as a hobby on the side. I absolutely love shooting dirt bikes and getting those angles and being, getting down and dirty and getting really cool shots of my husband and our friends and things like that. So for sure, we'll still be doing motocross photography. Will you ever do those product/housing photos again? I actually haven't put these out to the world very much yet. I sent these to a couple of close friends. My friend Amanda actually asked this question, and I guess I will need to put these out to the world here soon. I actually have considered getting into some stock photography because these pictures that she is speaking of were at our real estate agent's house. I went over to get some pictures of her house to see if shooting real estate was something that I wanted to get into. And I just don't have the equipment for it right now. I think I would really enjoy doing real estate photography if I had the right equipment. Right now, I just don't. However, these pictures that she's speaking of were these little like moments around Wendy's house. Wendy is our real estate agent, and they were candles and books, and her house was so beautifully decorated. And I got some really cool shots of different parts of her house that I think I'm going to submit to doing some stock photography. That's a whole other world in and of itself that requires a ton of research and figuring out who you want to contract with and things like that. So I probably will do more of those just because it was a lot of fun. I think I just right now have so many other things on my plate that it's not really on the top of my list. My favorite part about working with Talon, truly, if I could have him working here with me every single day, I would. I wish that there was more that I could have him do, or I wish we had more time for him to learn how to do some of the things that I need help with. But right now with him working so much overtime, we just don't have the time for him to sit down and learn some of these things. But he's like he truly is my best friend, my husband. I love having him around. Some people might call it a codependency thing, which whatever, like call it codependency if you want to, I'll take it. But I don't know. I just love his presence. He's my best friend. That's all I can say about that. I mean, if you have a best friend, then you just love having them around. You love their presence. They make you laugh. They make you smile. They make you feel comfortable and safe. So if he can come with me to a shoot, he will. He absolutely will. It's very, very rare that we don't do something together. And we prefer it that way. I know a lot of people are like, it's unhealthy to spend that much time with each other. And it's like, okay, well, we've tried to spend time away from each other, and I just don't enjoy my time as much as if he were there with me. So I don't know. It's not like I'm telling him that he can't go do things by himself. I mean, he goes snowboarding by himself, and I'll go do photo shoots by myself. We are capable of doing things apart. I just prefer to have him there. What are your goals for now, 5 years and 10 years? So my goals for right now, I think I really just am spending so much time trying to hone in on my style and what I'm enjoying, and really just crafting my shooting style and editing style. My next goal is to upgrade my equipment. There, I can just feel myself with my current equipment not progressing in the way that I want to be progressing. And so that's my next goal: upgrade my equipment this year, second shoot at some weddings, and just book more. Obviously this podcast is a huge goal of mine to get this out and known. 5 years and 10 years, y'all, I suck at setting goals. I really do. I feel like there's some kind of like bad juju around it. Every time I try to set goals, like shit hits the fan. And so I don't really set goals. I'm more of a fly by the seat of my pants, follow what I feel I'm being pulled to do, and just continue to be proud of what I've done at the end of the day, and progress more the next day. And every night just going to bed kind of just being proud of what I'd done that day, and give myself permission to take days, breaks and things like that, because I'm still working on my mental health currently. I got off my prescription medications not that long ago for anxiety and depression, and really just working on myself and not letting self-doubt hold me back like it has for so many years. That's my goal. And I feel like it's a pretty good one. Do you think you'll always pursue photography, or will you venture out? Again, kind of just living life by the moment. I really, truly have always enjoyed videography. If there was a way that I could do photography and videography and do a podcast, there's so many things that I love to do creatively, that I'm doing it right now to see if it is something that I can do long term. Photography, I can see myself doing long term, right? And maybe in the future, when Talon's working from home and I have more help, then videography is something that I can step more into. But truly, I think that I will always pursue photography and or videography, something in that realm. We had a YouTube channel for a while, and I really enjoyed having that. It just takes so much time. I mean, videos is a whole different world. And if I had the right equipment, it'd probably be a lot easier. Again, there needs to be more grants for photographers, okay? Because this shit expensive. Anyways, that was all of the questions. Actually, that was a lot of stuff to go over. And if you stuck through this whole episode, thank you so much for being here. I know I probably rambled a lot. This was my first episode. I've never done a podcast before. I've never been a guest on a podcast. So truly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And talking to myself and seeing myself on the screen in front of me as I'm recording this as a video for YouTube, and hearing myself in my microphones is just like the weirdest concept to me. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for following. If you're not already following or subscribed or whatever your little button on your podcast thing says, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe, share, download. I know downloads are important. I'm still learning a lot about podcasting, and I know that that's important. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited about this. I can't wait for the next episode. I do have a ton of episodes in mind that are going to be really good. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being here. And don't forget to give me a follow on Instagram at Mullinix Photography. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you next Wednesday.